Hello again, everyone. It's Rich Siegel back with the news according to me. 5 specific subjects today. First, we're going to take on some of the cancel culture and have a little fun with Dr. Seuss and them being eBay deciding not that Dr. Seuss, and we'll talk about the reasons why, and Pepe Le Pew and some other famous characters in cartoon history who are being stripped of being sold 6 Dr. Seuss books on eBay. And the irony is that there are books on there on Marxism and Mein Kampf, which was Hitler's story of world dominance. They're sold, but Dr. Seuss is out. Mixed feelings on all this, and there's reasoning for this, and it's worth a discussion. Second issue, of course, I don't mean to say of course, but borders. Borders opened versus the capital of Washington lockdown and schools still not completely reopened. Bit of an ironic twist. We'll talk about that. Third thing, we got to go to our friend Mr. Cuomo. 7 accusers now. So there's Cuomo-sexuals and then there's Me Too. And I think the governor's in a lot of problems. And I want to talk to it in the reference of what we're holding our leaders to. The hypocrisy. Cuomo certainly is not that much different than most politicians, I really believe in my heart. But let's talk about his predicament and what's ahead, and how far. Is it the best thing for New York for him to go away now? I don't think he has much of a choice, but I don't think he is going away. We'll talk about that. 4, stimulus package versus, we're going to get $1,400 now. 90% of the stimulus package is not for stimulus relief directly to the American people, but to other projects. And we'll talk about what they are and that in the terms of unifying the country, again, not really working. You had zero Republican support, and we'll talk about the reasons why. We've talked about it before, but and sticking with the unification idea and unifying this country, Joe Biden, he gave a speech Thursday night about what kind of a celebration of the COVID relief bill, but no mention of the problems, not recognizing what's going on at the border now as a crisis, and we'll talk about that. And really, it looks like he's continuing on as he's a puppet. He really doesn't have any creative of his own ideas. He's reading what they tell him to read. He doesn't really have any opinions on it. At least that's the signal they're giving. And if it's something different, let's hear it. Let's have a press conference. He's now breaking records. We'll talk about that for not answering questions that every president, and there's no exceptions to that, at this point has stood up numerous times and answered questions about what's going on, what's their reaction to it. And right now we have a president that does not speak his own mind. He gives a speech that he's read 20 minutes, nothing spontaneous, no enthusiasm. And again, this is my opinion. This is what I see. I watched it. I tried to be fair. I want to see what he said. It was about one thing, COVID relief, about talking. Didn't say anything about the borders, didn't answer any questions, didn't have anything other important to say. He didn't talk about schools, nothing. So not that high on him, but we'll talk about that last. And I don't think it's really an issue anymore about Biden. I think it's pretty obvious. I don't know. You could argue with me that I'd like to hear it. Write a note saying, hey, no, I think Biden's right out there doing what we need as a president. As a lot of people have told me, they like the president not to be seen or heard, and they don't want to hear any commotion in their lives. Just tell me what I got to do. That's not me, but I understand that viewpoint. All right, let's start with cancel culture and the latest fun stuff we're seeing right now that happened. It's almost 2 weeks now, where eBay declared 6 of Dr. Seuss's books that they were pulling them down off. You cannot buy them off of eBay, taking them off the shelves, so to speak. And their reasoning was the racist and xenophobic messages and images that are created in Dr. Seuss. Specifically, the characters have just lines for eyes that is considered a mock on Asian people and considered a not a good thing for young kids to look at because depicting Asians with lines as eyes. I mean, there's all kinds of pictures, all kinds of people. Again, I'm not defending. I'm really not, or I'm really saying what is being said and what is out there. Also, that there are numerous characters. I looked myself that they have turbans on their head that represent. I don't know if Dr. Seuss meant it that way. He's not here to speak for what his intentions were, but as portraying Middle Eastern people as all Indians as wearing turbans. I'm not so sure what's wrong with that or why that's xenophobic or racist, but that is that's two. And three, the one that I think is the most obvious and could use some. It's not a good thing to have for our little kids to be looking at is there are black people in hula skirts carrying around white people in cages. So I don't know what that means. I mean, it's like they're lifting them and carrying. These are just the pictures I look at. These are the reasons right there. I just told you the Asians, the Middle Eastern people, Indian turbans, and depicting black people as kind of subservient to white people and in the images that are there. At least that's what they're saying, and it makes some sense to me. Anyway, that's it. But now there's a trail to that, or a tail, I should say, to just Dr. Seuss, because now we've got some other characters in there. I understand that Curious George, who is I'm not real familiar. I looked it up a little bit before, but I remember it as a child that he's a monkey that a white person brought from Africa, and the idea of the monkey from Africa in a cage. It's read into what you want. I'm saying what eBay is saying, that these images are we need to get them out of children's sight, and then we get to Pepe Le Pew, one of my favorites, but I think I understand. I had to read why Pepe Le Pew, but it makes sense. He's aggressive towards women. He has a very strong come on act. He goes up and touches women, and this is speaking to the rape culture. I think is the context that they say Pepe has got to be taken down for being over the top and overly aggressive towards women and not treating women with the proper respect they deserve at all times in the cartoon. Of course, Pepe Le Pew is the French stud who running around. He's a cat, I think. Pepe Le Pew. Yeah, he's a cat. No, he's a skunk. What am I saying? Cat. He looks like a cat. I don't even know. He's a skunk. Pepe Le Pew. Flirting with girls and other skunks and other animals, and that's his problem. And then we have Speedy Gonzales. Underlay, Speedy Gonzales, I would assume with his bandero and his hats and his holster gun, is depicted as a Mexican bandit, and that is not one of the things. So without getting, I find it interesting. I'm not trying to make any big statement about where we're going, but it definitely is something to look at. I mean, how much do we want to erase? I'm not saying that we shouldn't. I'm saying it's a tough discussion, and the thing that I think about is not so much the specifics of who's erased. It's about how long will this go on, and where does it end in terms of erasing our past and what our literature is. We're going to go to Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn and their relationship with black people and the way they wrote about it. If you go into any of the great authors, Fitzgerald, Hemingway, the Bible even, there are definitely signs of homophobia and racism in their writing. And do we say, hey, this is what they wrote and this is the way they wrote it and this was the sign of their times and leave it alone? Or do we want to go back and erase all of history? That I certainly lean to. It was written. There's free speech. It is what it is. It's our job as human beings to understand what's right, what's wrong, what changed, what didn't change. But all right, enough on the cancel culture, and let's go to, I think, a more serious issue: the border issues we're having right now in immigration. It's been reported by who? The New York Times, okay? You say, well, you don't know what you're talking about. Where do you get your facts? The New York Times has claimed that close to 1 million immigrants from Honduras and South America have made their way into the country already. Just walked across the border or gotten here. According to the New York Times, 6% of those people will have COVID. I'm not sure they were tested or not, but the point is we are going towards more open borders. That is, they are reneging on a lot of Trump's in terms of how the wall was, in terms of what the restrictions were, in terms of where people, when they were turned back and where they were turned back, and how much the Border Patrols kept people back. Seemed to be working in terms of making it so people could just not come across, especially in these times of a pandemic. But with our new president, Joe Biden, there is definitely, some of these people have T-shirts. I've seen them with Biden on them as they're coming across. Now, I don't know where they're getting them and who would be passing it out, because I don't think it's actually a good look for Biden. I do think most Americans are all for immigration, are all for humanity, all for protecting children, all for treating people as well as they can, but they're not for people marching from other countries, coming in here undocumented, and expecting to get the benefits that an American citizen gets and never pays a tax in the world. I mean, it's pretty simple to me. I understand the humanitarian side to it, but we cannot just have 1 million people coming in here, and we really do. And this administration is not calling this a crisis. So I don't know what they're going to wait happen. These people kill some people. COVID is spread. We figure out we're sending checks, another trillion to people who are undocumented in the country. All of that is what's opened the door and makes it hard to keep track. And it also makes you believe, what is the philosophy of this administration? What is our philosophy as a country? Is this okay? Or does common sense take over and just say, I don't want children in cages. I don't want to harm anybody. I want to try to help as many people as we can. But we cannot just let 1 million people come through this border undocumented. No country should do that or can do that. These are and if America's so bad, why are these people trying to get in so bad? We know why. They really do have a bad time where they are, I'm sure. And they really do think, hey, Joe Biden's the president now. We're going to get free everything without doing nothing, and we're going to be able to get across the border now. After Trump's first year, and he put a kibosh on the ease of controlling. Of the non-ease of getting in, and the precautions he took to control the border are well documented, and we're obviously successful. This is one of those. I'm not Trump's better than Biden. We're talking about the border, while at the same time we still don't have kids in school 100% in our own country. So that's a whole nother, that we'll spend a podcast on what the repercussions of those are going to be. But more directly to the borders being open more now under Biden's administration, and whatever their plan is, I don't hear anything except, we're looking into it. We'll circle back to you on that, and I'm not being sarcastic. This is really what you're hearing when they do answer any questions. That the capital of the United States is still on what you would call a lockdown. It is still barbed wire around the Capitol. There is still an armed presence in Washington, greater than there has been at any time for the longest amount of time now, since 1812, when the British attacked Washington. And what at the name of that the insurgents is going to happen again, or that there's going to be another attack on this is nonsense. Heard about that on Inauguration Day. Nothing happened. Heard about it on March 4th, which was going to be some special day, supposedly, that QAnon was saying this was going to happen. Nothing, not even close. So how long are we going to go on pretending that ex-Trump people who don't believe the election's right are going to be storming that Capitol again? Are there a couple nuts out there who claiming, they're going to get their guns? Again, we're back to the conversation getting away from the extremes. And the insurgent, which was a terrible thing, is a really good example of, you're going to hear all Trump supporters want to attack the Capitol and overthrow the government. It is the furthest thing from the truth. Of the 75 million people who voted for Trump, you maybe have 1%, maybe, who are that crazy in their thinking. Just like you have 1% on the left who are crazy enough to go, yeah, let's just go to communism. Let's just go to one payer for everything. Let's just pay people monthly salaries and that's it. Let's do away with capitalism. I mean, those are the extremes. And what I am trying to say is we have to get that conversation if we're ever going to get closer to being a unified country in the middle more, as I always talk about, and not on those extremes. And I'm talking about the borders and capitals. I think now the left is getting their way. They want to make it look like it's a revolution is brewing, that the government is under attack. There's some truth. We did have a really bad day on January 6th. I mean, we, the country, did. And, but you got to look at the numbers, and you got to look what happened after that, and you got to look at what message you're sending by having troops in our capital. We look like a third world country. It's enough. It's time to get them out. All right, number 3. Governor of New York, Cuomo, this week's 7th accuser now. 7 pretty credible women between the ages of 25 and 35, I believe, maybe 40, I don't know. But the 7 women have come forward. There have been 7 women coming through stories that there is a prevalent attitude in the nation, in the state's capital, that the governor makes it known that he likes women to come to work. He hires a lot of girls 25 to 35. This is just old facts. It's there. That he encourages them to wear high heels, that he has been inappropriate. In all 7 of these cases, they talk about him coming up to them at parties and putting his hands on their back and saying, I like, it's variety things of, I like young women, if you know any, how about you? It's literally, that's what he's doing, beyond the bullying and the arrogance and the attitude that has now been completely exposed, which on this one I will say, I didn't know anything. I knew this is who this guy is. And now it's proven. It's in a way nice to see. He needs to go. I don't like to think, though, that this is just a deflection. He should go I think he should go based on the accusations of the women, no question. But I hate to see the nursing home deaths and the lies and the cover-up he did there go unrecognized or put in the background now that these women are up the front. Because to me that, I'm not, you're comparing which one's worse, which one's, hey, I got nothing but respect for women in the workplace. Everywhere, they should not be talked to men in power like that, or women in power speaking to men in power like that. It's gone. I'm an old-fashioned guy myself, and my father would tell me all the time, do not recreate where you educate, do not shit where you eat, do not put yourself and your career on the line based on your flirtations and the way you treat other people. And I think somewhere along the line, as great as Andrew Cuomo thinks his dad was, his dad didn't get that lesson across to the 2 idiot sons he has. Excuse me, I didn't mean to call them idiots, but they are. All right, so now, you got the Democrats in New York now. Schumer and Gillibrand, 2 of the biggest lightweights that ever came down the pike. Excuse me, here I am getting opinionated on that. I want to be more in the middle, but I do believe that. Are now the biggest Me Too people in the world now are going, yep, I think he should resign. When you have the 2 senators from the state, and the one is the leader of the speaker of, is the leader of the Senate, the majority leader of the Senate, telling you it's time to step down, you've lost support. It's time to go away. Cuomo will not. He thinks maybe a miracle will happen, that they will try to impeach him, and by the time it's time for him to run again, I even think he'll try to run again. And then we're really going to see how the Democratic Party is in this state, and how the Republican Party is in this state, who they put up against them and whatever. But because if he's elected again, I've made enough idle threats about leaving the country. I'm not saying anything about what I'm going to do. But if he gets elected again, I mean, throw in the towel. I mean, we're whatever the left wants, they can do, and don't give me Al Franken. Al Franken chose to step down. I would think in my opinion, he shouldn't have. Okay, so there it is, the middle. All right, and Trump. When we get into the whataboutisms, because they don't like it when I do it, but this is what they do. If their boy Cuomo is in trouble. What about Trump? What about Trump? Trump, we knew who he was. Every accusation any woman made about him was before he was the president. I did not hear one accusation while he was the president of the United States. Cuomo has 7 women in the last year or couple years while he's governor of New York that work directly under him, all young women who have accused. Now, if you're not supposed to believe them women, who are you ever going to believe? Someone 35 years ago, which I'm not saying don't believe them, but one woman 35 years ago, they were going to throw Kavanaugh into the lynch mob and have him hung and done with his life and right in front of his family. Cuomo, I don't know what all the hesitation's about, but I don't know. Even though I'm trying to be nice, I'm enjoying it because anybody who writes a book about how great a leader he is, why he's killing 15,000 people in a nursing home. Anybody who goes on TV every day and acts like he's God and the king while he's molesting, bullying, assaulting women and all co-workers, and it's a consistent feel, this guy deserves bad things to happen. And he's got an Emmy award. I mean, how embarrassing is it for him himself and his dumb brother Fredo? Okay? All right, enough on Cuomo. People think I have some personal axe to grind against him. No, it's just he's so easy. He's such a bad person. And the evidence is there, and I had always seen it. He talks to you condescendingly. He thinks he's better than you, and that means everybody. And I guess there's some people out there who feel like, hey, this is who I am. I'm supposed to listen to Andrew Cuomo. I'm a bobblehead doll. Oh, look at him. He's helping me so much. Okay, I am digressing now. Okay, the COVID package, $1.9 trillion passed in the name of unification. We keep going back to that word. In the name of trying to get closer to the middle. In the name of let's get some things we can agree on. This COVID package isn't it. Okay, 1.9 million. Everything points to, if you're being generous, at least 80% of it has nothing to do with relief to the American people for COVID. At least 80%, more like 90. Okay, so that's a problem. So what is the other stuff for? And we've talked about it before. Bailing out other countries' problems, bailing out our failed cities' problems. Billions of dollars are going to New York and Illinois and California. I don't care what color states they are. They're bailing these states out that are in absolute fiscal disasters, and they're giving them billions of dollars. They're giving another $360 billion in this package to help reopen schools, which aren't all still reopened. And they still, I believe it's $54 million they still have from the last package that they haven't even spent on schools while they're closed. So how much of a priority is it, and are we spending it on it? I think it's great that we spend whatever you got to do to just open them, okay? How much work you got? You had a year to prepare. How many feet away does every student have to be? How safe are the teachers? Let's go. We're all working. We all got to go. Let's get back to school. And so I'm relating that into the package again. That we have way too much pork in there, helping the blue states primarily that did a terrible job traditionally in the last 10 years of fiscally managing their states are getting bailed out by this package, and that is why you did not have one single Republican. How can you ever get bipartisanship? How can you pass the biggest bill in American history for the most amount of money and have one party not have one person who votes for it? Again, libertarian, registered Republican right now. So when I see this, I wouldn't care if I was a registered Democrat right now. I would be saying, this is not how we're going to get there. This is not how we are going to get back together. This is just causing more of a rift. And I think it's evident that how somebody on the Democratic side, one of the people who could have voted no to get this passed, say, no, we got to get some of this pork out of this bill. Some of it. Like, make it 70-30, make it 60-40, not 90-10 on other things that have nothing to do with COVID, that it was a liberal left wish list, that they had to, with voting regulations, with, I always say it's because it's true, funding abortions in other countries, primarily billions to bail out the fiscal mismanagement of states in this country. I got to vote no. I'd say give the people 10,000. Figure out what 1.2, give them this. Not, even though that's another argument, I am for right now helping people every way we can, extending unemployment, whatever it is, to make it whole, but not the pork that goes in it. And that goes to our fearless leadership of President Joe Biden, who gave the speech Thursday night after the Senate voted the bill. That was the perfect timing. He got out there and read a 20-minute speech. And to me, this was an opportunity again. He has them all the time, but he's not going to do it. I mean, as the president, he's got them every day. If I'm the president, I don't like the way Trump did it. He tweeted, and that didn't work, in my opinion. But he was communicating every day. He was telling you how he feels. There was no question who was in charge. He did answer every reporter's questions every day as he walked to the airport. And Jim Acosta sat in the front row and badgered him for 4 years, and he kept asking him his questions. I'm not trying to compare. I'm just saying Joe Biden hasn't done any of that, and I don't think he's capable of doing any of that, and I don't think they're going to let him do that. So let's just recognize that and admit that. And, again, if you don't, it just proves that you're just a one-way street and you don't really care. I mean, it's not even talking about 45 years of failure before this. It's talking about what his cognitive state is now. In his speech, which was boring, which was, I would say, banal, mundane, simple, repetitive, no enthusiasm. Biden told us nothing except how great this new package was, and now how we can all unite together moving forward, and that by July 4th, we might be able to have a picnic with a few of our friends if we want. This is how out of touch this guy is. He has no idea. He can't even comprehend what it's been like out here for a year, where restaurants are closed, bars are closed, churches are closed, people can't go to work, the real estate market commercially is going down, New York City's been lost. Need I go on? And he's sitting there, we're doing really good. We can't give up now, though. I'm hoping that by July 4th, even though we have the vaccine now, even though we've got whatever it is, 10% of the people vaccinated and moving towards, probably by July 4th, it'll be more like 50, 60. But to think that we're not going out before then, or to think that he's going to be the one to tell me I can have a little family picnic on July 4th, hello, okay? Understand this. The government is not telling me what to do anymore, okay? That's it. There's no more mandates. There's no more nothing. I did for others long enough. And again, I don't want to get on that high horse. But when I look at the White House right now, and knowing that he's being directed by a far left agenda that is embracing this COVID because it has given them so much control and they don't want to let go. If you can't see that, I would say you are blind. That is my opinion. You are blinded because you don't want to see it, or you just have poor eyesight. You figure that out. So on a high note, again, I would say, though, it is good. The vaccines are going good. Cuomo is getting called out. There is. I don't see. Still, we're back to grading. The American people are still D. I look at them at Facebook. I look at the same people. They just hate anything that still talking about the past, still mentioning the past president. And then this president, he's perfect. They're just, what a speech that was the other night. Inspiring, phenomenal. I even heard. If you watched that speech and called it phenomenal, you better go look in the mirror and you better call your mommy up and say, "Hey, mommy, what's my IQ?" And you may not like what you hear if you really believe that speech was phenomenal. All right. Again, condescending I don't mean to be, but I try to regurgitate the thoughts that I have as I'm watching Thursday night, and this is off the cuff. This is, I have 5 notes in front of me, and that's it. And I'm talking about what I see and what I hear and what I feel. I would say that over in the last couple of weeks, though, because of the improvement of the vaccine and the activity I've just seen around the nation, we're getting closer to being, not going to use the word normal, but we're getting closer to where the government's going to get out of our lives on this COVID, and we're going to be smart, and we're going to be sensible, and we're going to live our lives the way we've always lived them, and not have an excuse anymore for why we can't do this and why we can't do that, why we can't go to work. Let's get back to being America again. Let's get tough, and we'll see what the next couple of weeks brings. It's going to bring a lot. I said I'm not making predictions, but Cuomo will still be there. Biden will still not have had a press conference. They'll still be marching across the border. What's going to be next? They'll be announcing who's going to be running for the Democrats before Cuomo resigns. So there'll be some more things. We keep an eye on the stock market. We're going to keep an eye on the economy. And we always got to get back to China. We didn't say anything about them today, but they're not going away. All right. Have a good week, everybody. Good talking to you. Take care.